Hello, and a big welcome to the Move, Rest, Live podcast. I'm your co-host, Menna Olvera, and with me is Carlos Leon. Together, we are the proud co-founders of the Oleon House. We're thrilled to be on this journey with you as we learn from our guests about all things fitness, wellness, and lifestyle, furthering our goals of movement and rest in our lives to empower us to truly live. Let's get going.
Hey.
Hi.
I'm Carlos Leon.
I am Menna Olvera.
And we're here at the Move, Rest, and Live podcast,
which we've been making generally since the 90s. We've been sitting around talking together about life and dreams and spirituality since like 1995.
Yep. And now we're here doing it on a podcast, letting the world know our deepest thoughts and our freakiest moments.
I don't know about freaky, but
yeah, we can talk about freaky stuff. In any case, we have Randall Hammond here.
We have Randall Hammond here. He's our guest today. And we, before we bring him in though, I just want to let people know what we're doing because Randall's here to talk about his story, but his story started with us creating the Oleon House, which is a convergence of your fitness and my wellness, and how it's bringing this nice balance to others and creating a higher sense of energy and self-awareness and preparedness for when your body hits high stress levels to be able to manage and bring yourself back down to homeostasis through work. But in addition to that, the benefits of it are beyond just like getting our six-pack abs, even though once upon a time that was our goal. Now we just want to have people meet their goals with their blood work, with their health, their wellness, so that they can live through life in a practical, easy way.
Correct.
And Carlos and I created a 6-week Oleon House Launch to Health program. And, you know, it can be really intense and it definitely requires commitment. We worked really hard on it. Trial and error that involves moving with Carlos and his philosophies, resting with me and my philosophies, combining them, integrating them, separating them, sharing them with others, in addition to offering some functional health coaching as you get started. Because sometimes, as you know, and Randall will attest to, when you embark on a program that's radically going to change your life, it could be scary. And so it's nice to have someone to talk to included, don't you think?
Yeah, well, the person first has to be committed, right? But once you're committed, and that commitment level is 100%, and Randall came in 100%. He was just tired of being tired. He was tired of being, overweight, and as you know, and I really wanted to help. I really wanted to help him change his life, guide him, For the most part, it's you doing it, because if you weren't 100% committed, we couldn't do the work we do.
And as a trainer, I mean, you train, godly 100 hours a week people.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Would you say that, like, when a client comes in, do you know when they're halfway committed, 25% committed, fully committed?
I know.
And how does that affect you as a trainer?
Well, when they're not committed, it makes my job harder. I don't want to be a babysitter to clients, though it turns out to be sometimes. I want them to come in here knowing that they're going to change their life, and I'm helping them to change their life. It might be a half an hour of sheer torture, but I'm here to help you move better and, do functional things so that your life will be easier.
Yeah.
So I know when someone's committed, and there's people that cancel quite a few times a week, and that's a first sign.
When they keep canceling.
Sure.
Well, it's interesting too, though. It's like I get fitness people that are like, I work out this much, and then they come on the yoga mat and they can't do anything. I mean, seriously, I can't even get them to like hold a plank.
Right.
And then I say to myself, but you don't want to do yoga. But then you do it and you feel better at the end. And you say to myself, why don't I do this more often? But then next week when it's time for you to show up, yoga's an interesting thing, and I almost don't even want to call what I do yoga, but I haven't quite coined a new term for it, because it's an integration of body awareness, the practice of yoga in terms of like mind-body awareness and movement. But settling the body down is a lot more challenging for people, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's, when you have to sit down with your thoughts, it's very hard, and you have to deal with it. Even looking in the mirror, that whole the accountability mirror, and just dealing and knowing what you have to go through.
Yeah.
But in any case,
it's true.
Yeah.
So we want to bring Randall in. Randall, it's hard to believe that it's already been a year to date since you first walked through our door.
Right? It's amazing. Thank you for having me here.
And
thanks for being here, Randall.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just moving this a little bit closer. So tell me, Randall, what first brought you into the Oleon House?
I think it's a lot of what Carlos had actually said to begin with, which was I was tired, right? And I had gone through many trainers through the years. I mean, if you go back up, even as a kid, I was always the biggest kid in the room, right? And I was always the biggest kid in gym class. I was always, mentally and emotionally dealing with that, and physically. And that has a lot to do with, whether it's your family dynamics and sort of how you're raised, and the importance that food places in that sort of love equation, like you're basically being fed to death, sort of idea. And I think I hung on to that for years and years, for decades. And then something clicked. We moved here to New York City, my husband and I, and something changed. And I think physically we're in a new spot, full of energy, and I fell out of whack, out of sync with that energy, and thinking like, okay, what am I going to do this time? What's going to be different? And that's what introduced me to both of you. We have a mutual friend that made the introduction, made it happen, and I'm so grateful and thankful for that.
So you met a mutual friend. She was talking about the Oleon House, and you were like, I need to go there, or I'm curious?
I'm curious, and looking for something different. I mean, I think, the classic going to the gym, having a trainer for an hour, and I always thought, what's changing? What my body wasn't changing. Sure, I could get stronger, but my size was actually just increasing, right? And it was missing that other component which you're talking about, which is the yin and the yang, and nutrition, or the yoga aspect of it, the rest component of it, the health, the more holistic approach to that was always missing in what I was actually trying to accomplish.
So do you remember the first week you came in?
I do.
Do you?
Yeah, of course.
Yes. I mean, I remember the first week, and I felt there was something different. I felt like this is the first time I'm actually speaking with a peer group. I think, when I was always at a past, my trainers were always probably 30 years younger than I was.
Right.
Which is great, which is fine, but do they really get me? Do they really know where I am at this stage of my life and what I want, which is mobility, not feeling tired, feeling like I'm actually quote unquote healthy.
Right.
I'm not gonna have a six-pack ab, not gonna have that. But feeling like, hey, I'm the best version of that I can be. And that's me. It's hugely important.
Yeah.
And so what was the first week like going through the first 2 weeks and really getting in to make the change? Because let's be clear, you went from maybe working out once or twice a week to working out 4 times a week. So you did our 30-minute workout, and then you would do our combo, which is 60-minute, and then you would do a 60-minute yoga, and then a 60-minute workout. So this was like your 4 workouts spanning over 7 days.
Absolutely. And I think, what I first noticed was, we weren't doing anything with weights really, right? It was just body weight.
Body weight.
God, I had plenty of body weight to deal with, so why wouldn't we just use that, right? And that was, in my past experience with gyms or trainers, that's not where the vanity comes from. The vanity comes from how much did I just push up, or how much weight am I slinging around? And that was eye-opening and also so refreshing because it was about me and what I could actually do myself at any time of the day, right? I mean, here we are doing this, but I didn't need equipment. I just needed myself, and I needed you as a trainer to tell me in what direction to go. But it was eye-opening because, as you know, we've always been dealing with the cardio aspect of that, which was never really, when you weight train, it had never become part of it. What I had in the past. But now, it's critical part.
And so you went to go see Dr. Rodriguez, who is a nutritional doctor that Carlos and I often refer our clients to just to get blood work done, get a jump start on where your deficiency might be, and start to really get invested in your health and well-being. Tell us a little bit more about what that was.
You put me through a whole regime of blood tests, and surprising or not surprising was my sugar levels were completely out of whack. So low insulin resistance, etc., which was not a surprise. I mean, I have a sugar tooth. I mean, I crave sugar. Did crave sugar, right? And I think, that comes back to, I think a lot of the love that was shown as a child growing up was, 2 types of cookies in the cookie jar at all times, and also cake and pies every night, right? And that,
really?
Every
comfort food. I mean, it was just like keep you quiet, make you feel good, and it was
just satiate you, right?
Yeah.
So that was my first big aha. I mean, I knew that I always had a problem with sugar and everything that goes with it, because then it's overeating and all that. But coming out of Dr. Rodriguez, I cut back sugar immensely. I didn't say I didn't go to zero. I am not a huge going to zero. There's times when you need to have an elimination diet and say, okay, I can't do this. But I often think about what I think of both of you is what's been so enlightening is sustainability.
Yeah.
And the idea that this is not something I'm just switching on for
6 weeks.
Yes, exactly. And then see you later. Okay, goodbye. I'm all fixed now.
Yeah.
Right. Which is why we call it a launch to health, right? It's not, you're not going to fix it in 6 weeks, but we can help you launch a new perspective.
And behavior, right?
Yeah.
And there's so much of that behavior change. And that has been so without your support, both of you.
We appreciate that.
It's not been easy, but it's been a hell of a lot easier than I ever envisioned that it would ever have been. Because of that holistic, the yin and the yang, the work hard, the restorative aspect of it, so you can live. And that to me is it just resonates so much for me. And achieving that level of balance, I think none of us can have balance unless we have a solid core. And whether that is emotional, mental, or physical. Back to your point of being able to get through the day when you have hard stuff coming at you, right? There's a balance that I'm always trying to maintain or to achieve.
Right.
Yeah.
Same thing with physical, right? I mean, I know that if we're just trying to pick up my running again, right?
Yeah.
If I go on and start running 5 days a week and doing all that, next week, game over, right?
Game over.
So
it's finding your moderation, finding your recipe.
Absolutely.
But this way, going into it smarter than the last time, and
smarter.
Now we know what we're doing, so we're incorporating running into the workouts.
That's right.
But I think it's true in terms of longevity. It's like I went into a store the other day, and the guy goes, "Oh, this one smokes too much every day." The guy standing next to him in the store. And I go, "You guys are young." I'm like, "You need to."
What was it?
Oh, it was at one of the weed stores here in the city.
Oh, you were talking. He was talking about his friend.
Yeah, he was talking about his friend. He's like, "My friend smokes way too much," and I said, "Well, you guys got to chill. When you get my age, you're not going to be able to do any of it." And they looked at me and they're like, "What do you mean?" I go, "I'm 51." I go, "You're in your 20s. Are you going to blow all of your brain cells by getting high so much now that by the time you're my age, you're not going to be able to enjoy it anymore?" Just things in moderation, right? Taking it back.
What did they say about that? I'm sure they told you to fuck yourself.
No, the girlfriend goes, "Yeah, you're right. We got to take a break. You got to take a break."
I know when I was that age, someone told me, I would say, "Go fuck yourself." But you're right. You're absolutely right. But the weed nowadays is much stronger than the weed when
It's
we were
potent.
kids. It's potent.
It's so potent.
THC.
But yeah. Anyway, but my point going back to like longevity, if you're in for the long haul, when anything, health, wellness, dreams, job, family, it's a long time.
And I think that's one of the things I think about achieving that balance is that the highs aren't as high and the lows aren't as low. And I think, bringing those together, I mean, saying like the highs aren't as high, that sounds bad. No, it's because usually what happened was you have an equal amount of lows on the other side of it. And
Right.
you can bring both of those back together.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah. So, let's go out one night and just go all in with all the wine, the booze, the chocolate cake. We're just going to, 3 a.m. and all that. Great time. Great, awesome evening, right? Until the next day when you are beating yourself up and thinking, oh my God, what did I just do? I feel terrible about myself. And then it
The
just
guilt.
spirals. And then even is just like, then you're thinking about all the emails you haven't caught up on, and I'm a loser for that. And,
Right.
I haven't called X, Y, and Z. It just compounds. It's not just about the fact that you went deep last night. It's now the opposite side of that is it's affecting every other kind of interaction with your relationships in your life and the people in your life, your own thinking.
Peripheral.
So that's when I say it's, while you can have some really high highs, it's your lows are, for me anyway now, it's definitely much more moderation on both, which is such a nice feeling because I don't feel like I'm whipsawing.
Are you judging yourself less?
Yes, but you end up, because I think of now an awareness, I think we've talked about this before, there's much more awareness in my life now, whether it's in the moment I'm standing or the moment I'm sitting here. So as you start to learn more about yourself, some parts of that becomes harder because now you're really setting some boundaries, you're setting some level of expectations about yourself that is more rewarding, but it's also more difficult because you're not as blind or ignorant to everything you do in your life is sort of having some sort of effect.
So then you got to week 3.
Yeah.
And
It was like, absolutely, this is for me. I mean, I immediately started noticing from a mobility perspective, my weight had actually already started dropping. I mean, it was the first time sort of like felt like I was getting smaller but stronger. Not smaller in a bad way. It's just that, I felt...
You were losing inches.
I was losing inches, but at the same time, growing in a way I had never grown before.
Also spiritually.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
Because you know now you can do things in life, and just a creative visualization is such a strong thing to have in your curriculum, right?
It was the first time that's ever happened.
Right. It's amazing.
And so I still struggle, or I still think about that today. We're still early on and think about, you've always said to me, it took you 54 years to get where you are today.
Yeah.
And you expect in 54 days you get to where you want to be.
It's a process.
It's a process, and it's a long term.
It's like chiseling, right?
Yeah.
We got to chisel all this shit that we've been doing for years, right? To our bodies, to our soul. And then you chisel away until you figure it out. And you know what? It never ends.
Never ends.
It never ends. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't stop brushing your teeth. You don't stop cleaning your ass. It's a process, right?
Exactly.
So.
Well, nowadays they say you think probably like 90% of the same thoughts on a daily basis, right? And so a lot of neuroscience talks about the practice of rehearsing. And every day you have a thought about a situation, you're rehearsing that situation in your thought process. You're either going to rehearse something good or you're going to rehearse something bad. But either way, you're rehearsing in your mind a reaction to a situation. Or if I see that person again, I'm going to fill in the blank. Or, oh my God, it's Thanksgiving and I always get triggered by my sister. So I'm going to create a story around that already. Right?
You're talking about personal stuff right now.
That'll be for Christmas. But
Because I don't have a sister. I'm joking.
I love my sister.
I know you do.
We're just different.
Yeah.
But it's what you rehearse on a daily basis with your thought process. And if you want to make changes, I personally find that it's consistency and it's discipline. Because when you show up for yourself every day and you make that commitment and then you follow through on that commitment, that builds a layer of confidence, and then another layer, and then another layer. It's just like we were talking this morning, like Carlos is starting a new habit of making his bed before he even goes to his morning
Coffee.
Yeah.
The first thing I do is make that bed, even though I don't want it. Anyway, that's just gives you accomplish something.
So you accomplish something for the day.
Absolutely.
But I always make my bed. Is the point is that second when I get up, it's already...
You're changing your pattern.
Yeah, a lot.
And you have to get new neural nets of the brain to fire.
Absolutely.
So tell us, okay, it's been a year, and you use this app on your wrist that's an exercise app. What's it called again?
Whoop.
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 Whoop, whoop, whoop. So tell me about Whoop.
So yeah, I've used that for now I think almost going on 5 years now. And it basically monitors your heart rate 24/7. That calculates your sleeping, how well you're doing with that, what your resting heart rate is, what your activity. More importantly, now with understanding, sort of setting goals for the Fit 30, right?
Yeah.
30-minute high intensity interval workout.
Which we have today.
Exactly, coming up here in a few minutes.
Like it happened. No.
That's it. But what's been really great about that is as one gets stronger and one gets more healthier, your actual strength score that this has, a strength score, is actually harder to achieve because
the healthier you get.
Yeah, the healthier you get, because it's sort of back to the idea that which is great for many people. It's about steps. So somebody who's a marathon runner can probably walk many steps during the day, but somebody who's older, out of shape, those number of steps are so much harder, right? Whereas this product here is basically kind of adjusting for that and saying, okay, you're putting in all this work, but maybe your heart rate's not going up as high as it used to, because I used to get there really soon, right? When we first started out working out, I could hit over a 10 strain.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Within 5 minutes.
6
right?
minutes, we're all right, sit down. Sit down.
Now I can do my Fit 60, the 60-minute one. Sometimes, I'm just breaking 10. Right. So that's a win for me in my perspective.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, you can see that your body is more efficient and more effective. And then, now it's those the other things that aren't measurable by that, it helps, but is the mental and the spiritual health that it is it's contributing to. Because my mind is clearer, I get better sleep, my relationships are better, right? Everything is just a compounding effect that it's a high. Yeah. It's an absolute high every day.
Yeah, it's a whole body effect, mind, body, and spirit.
It's not just that transactional. I think, before I started such a transactional...
I'm going to get a trainer, I'm going to pay him this much, he's going to train me, If you want to see changes, you have to be consistent. Yes. And also start to learn how to take care and do your own workouts at home.
Yes, exactly. So you feel like you're actually even meditation, right? And just sitting alone and understanding how you can play with those certain other aspects that I've never.
But even meditation for you has been harder because you have no problem jumping on the treadmill and getting your workout done, but you have a huge problem with the recovery part of it.
That's right. Yes, and actually,
so you always have goals.
Yes. Absolutely.
Life goals.
But I think what's also different this time around is that I'm definitely that type of person who's like, if it's not happening perfectly, then I'm just going to throw it out. I'm not going to go there. And that's sort of where a lot of the times. So, perfection was so important that if I didn't look perfect, then screw it. I'm not even going to bother with this. But that whole mantra, progress, not perfection. So that whole feeling of I'm making progress emotionally, mentally, physically, has been so critical, and that's been such a different way of different thinking this time around than I ever done in the past.
And what is your feedback on working with like two individuals at the same time, like with different energies?
I think it's really fantastic. I mean, I can't speak enough highly enough about it, is that, as much as I can hate Carlos for those 30 minutes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then I get done with that, and I'm like, oh my God, thank God I had Menna sitting here, because now I can get into this restorative, right? But then, at the same time, when we do our hour of yoga, oh Lord, after the first 30 minutes, it's like, okay, I'm done. And then, we get back into. So
Right.
I think it is back to that whole, it's the yin and the yang, it's that whole work hard, rest hard
Yeah.
to live.
Yeah.
And I think, and it's that comparison or that contrast makes each of those activities that much more rewarding and fulfilling. And you see the results in each of those.
And what would you say to somebody who is on the fence and is going, oh God, the holidays are coming, it's Thanksgiving. First of all, you started with us on this program right before Thanksgiving dinner last year.
I did.
How did you handle that? Because you're a chef and you always have an elaborate meal with wine to go with each serving. So how did you do that in the first literal week of working with us?
I would say that was actually not by happenstance. I mean, I remember heading into the holiday season last year thinking, okay, I can't find myself in January feeling like I've added another 10 pounds on and I'm feeling worse about myself and it's just heavy and everything. And I knew I needed to maybe hopefully change something up. And that's when I did come to you just before. And that was kind of on purpose so I can make sure that is there anything I can learn for these next 2 months to make sure it happened. And I think one of the biggest ahas was just being aware. My awareness of what I was consuming. What was I touching during the course of the day? And I did. I immediately started using a food tracking app, right? And just really understanding, I was very religious on that. For the first, I think like the first 6 months we were involved. I was tracking my food intake every single morsel. And I know that it is tough. It's got to take some discipline.
Who has the time, right?
Who has the time, right? But once you do it the first week or so, you're going to pretty much not eating exactly the same. But, for me, that was also a controlling thing for me. It's like, okay, if I can put this in, I can actually control what I'm actually consuming.
Right. And you're accountable for it.
Yes, I'm accountable, right? And so I then I could really understand, okay, yes, that handful of crackers is X number of calories. Got it. Like, with no protein or with, so I think for me, when I approached Thanksgiving and I went into, and I still cooked all the foods, all of our favorites, I had a couple of less glasses of wine. I left things on my plate. Mm-hmm. One slice of pie, not the 5 pies that I made. Yeah. So it's just being aware and just really understanding what the effect is on your body and your mind, with this constant consumption that we all live in.
Right. More is better.
Yeah. Which is
more of nothing is better.
Right, but wine is also that's the killer too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're having it every night, you know that. I mean, that's like the killer. I mean, you can remember it. I mean, we all. I mean, most of the people.
I mean, listen. I grew up in a house where beer and wine was like water. It was just when you got home from work, my mom and dad would pop open a beer, watch the news,
alcohol,
and then so then going back to like how much is nurture and how much is nature.
Yes.
You
have to find a fine line.
Absolutely.
In your life, you're like, okay, it doesn't mean that you have to stop drinking wine. We're not saying that, but you have to learn how many you have to have during the week, the moderation.
And I think too, at least for me, like once I pulled back on the alcohol, I found when I did finally go back to have a glass of wine, it tasted different.
Yeah, and you get
completely.
It doesn't taste the same.
It doesn't taste the same.
It's better, right? Does it taste better?
Not always.
Okay.
I think I set my standards higher now. If I'm only going to have this,
you might as well have this glass. Exactly.
I want the great stuff. I know.
Why not?
I just don't want belly filler.
Yeah, that's how I feel with beer.
Yeah.
I might as well have a nice, strong, healthy beer.
Eight. What is it? Volume.
8%
alcohol.
7.5. But it's good beer. It's an IPA or whatever. You know what I mean? I just go for a quality beer instead of drinking 6 glasses of wine or whatever. I don't drink wine. I mean, I do, but I don't have a bottle at home.
Only in the summer, and it's rosé if you come out by the pool.
Yeah.
I would say it's the same thing as I approach desserts now, or anything sugary.
I love dessert.
There's just nothing. I'm not going to just grab the bag of stuff up. It's got to be good. It's got to be homemade.
Exactly.
It's got to be something with some quality and substance.
And less ingredients.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
The better.
Absolutely.
So tell us what you're doing now, Randall. Now, so first of all, wait.
Yeah.
How much weight have you lost in total since we started?
We fluctuate somewhere around 40 pounds. I mean, it's just anywhere from like 35 to 40, sort of any, whatever kind of given week we're looking at. So
Amazing.
it's a substantial, I am actually lighter than I was when I was in high school.
There you go.
So that's
great.
That's a considerable
That's
thing
good.
about the amount of mass that I'm just not,
You're in
So
shape,
it's-
man. You're in shape. People, you're walking around the street, people saying, that guy's in shape.
Yeah.
You're very
And it's really, we just had Dr. Lat Mansour on from the Ketone IQ company, and he specializes in metabolic and cardiovascular under hypoxia, lack of oxygen.
Right.
And I sometimes forget that what we do affects the whole system, right? Like sometimes for me, I get caught up in the like spiritual and the esoterics of the body and the mind, and you forget that like, oh right, there is a heart that is pumping a certain amount of blood every minute of the day that's autotomic, right? And then you become conscious of your autotomic system, and it's almost like, and I don't know other way to say it, but it's almost like shining a light on a thing of roaches, and it goes, like freaks out. Your autotomics is like, what? You noticed me? I'm here. Thank you. Right? Giving gratitude for your body is something new. I used to do it in my 20s when we were working out a lot. I used to take a shower, and every time I would like wash or do a dry body scrub, I'd be like, thank you, arm. Thank you, body. Thank you, breasts, for being healthy.
Definitely. I am so grateful that I am able to work out every day.
Yeah.
I mean, that is at the age of 54, and that I don't consider that old, but at the same time,
You're not young.
Not young, no, exactly. But it's
You're right in the middle.
but it's something that not everybody has the luxury to be able to do.
It is a luxury.
It is.
And we got it just in time.
Yeah, because I don't know where I'd been. Sitting here a year now, if I hadn't met you both, I'm not sure what I would have been doing.
Well,
Yeah.
I can guess, but it wouldn't be.
you've been inspirational to us as well. So know that. Know that you're a good man.
And Carlos and I were just talking, actually, as a man. Most of our clients are men, which is interesting. And really quick before we wrap up, Carlos and I were talking about how, women nowadays are really stepping up with their health and wellness
Very
program.
much, yes.
And women already outlive men. And I was telling Carlos, I wonder if, the average man doesn't go to work out as much because in their head they have this old picture of, Jack LaLanne and having to do these heavy weights and having to, I don't know if I just
I
use
don't
it as
know
an
about Jack
example,
LaLanne,
but maybe
but, yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger or Gold's Gym workout where it's just very I'm here to pump, right? As opposed to cardiovascular hip practices, capoeira or jiu-jitsu, or now there's so many different things that you can expose yourself to get your body moving. We don't care what you do, just move.
Yeah.
Right.
You can sit in a chair and pedal your feet for 3 minutes, and what happens to your abdominals just from doing that, right?
Yeah.
Just move. They have those little pedal bikes that you can just put down on while you watch TV. Just pedal your feet.
Don't you think we all deal with that sort of the societal norms of what fit is supposed to look like?
Yeah.
So I think,
especially with Instagram nowadays.
right?
So,
No, absolutely with Instagram, right? And so I think so many, male or female, there's a certain, if I'm going to go work out, then I need to look like that. And if people are going to come up to me and say, oh, you're not working out, well, yeah, but I'm not maybe fitting that exact mold or that picture.
It's funny that you say that, because when I first started teaching yoga and I went to teach at a studio in Connecticut, and the owner said to me, Menna, people are going to relate to you because you're not built like a typical yogi. And I was like, whoa, what's a typical yogi?
Yes.
And she's right. I'm not a long, lean. I wasn't a dancer. I wasn't a gymnast. I'm an average girl that just liked to work out my whole life. I was a swimmer. I was an athlete. And now I'm teaching yoga. And you know what, God bless, if the fact that like my body is built in like a warrior and I'm doing my poses and I'm moving inspires other women out there that are big boned to get out and move, I don't fucking care anymore. Get out and move.
That to me is so real, and that to me is where most people live, right? This is where most of us live. We live in that space.
And I have to be honest too, Carlos and I have been working out together since I was 25 years old, and it's nice to have a friend and a community of people that encourage you and are with you no matter what size you are as you move through the challenges of life, death, birth, marriage, family, whatever. It affects you.
Absolutely. You need to let it affect you.
Yeah, having community. Well, that's it for me.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us and taking the time.
Yes.
Really grateful.
Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you for the chicken soup.
Absolutely.
Rando's also a chef, so you'll be hearing more from him about snacks and hacks for the holidays.
Yeah.
But to learn more about the Oleon House 6-week program, check out our website, and we will be hosting a little video of Randall giving a little bit more about his story if you have any questions. Other than that,
God bless.
don't forget to move
And live.
and rest. Oh, we messed it up.
That's okay.
All right. Ciao. Thanks for listening, guys. Check us out online at our website, theoleonhouse.com, or Instagram, Facebook, and let us know what you're thinking. This podcast and any related content distributed on behalf of the Oleon House, Menna Olvera or Carlos Leon, is meant for information, educational, and entertainment purposes only. Any information or opinions expressed within are not meant to replace medical advice or meant to diagnose, prescribe, or treat any disease, condition, illness, or injury. You should consult a healthcare professional of your choice regarding all matters concerning your health.